In September 1973, Yamaha was forced to change the name of their SS or 16er special to the FS1E. This was because of a dispute with Honda, who had also released an SS or Super 16er bike. This was the birth of the legendary Yamaha FS1E, or what we all remember, the Fizzy. In December 1972, the first Yamaha SS models were being distributed to dealerships and showrooms up and down the country. These early bikes came with a prefix number 394. But the very first model to be produced didn't start with a 0. The very first bike to come off the production line actually started at 101. All the FS1E bikes from 1972 onwards would have engine and frame numbers stamped into the frame headstock and left-hand crank casing. The frame number and the engine number would match to each other. But one bike model would be different to all the other models, and that's the SS model. The crank casing on the early SS models had a smooth, smaller area in the cast where the engine numbers were stamped. This was present from 101 through to around 4000. When Yamaha changed the crank casing design to grid style to prevent tampering with numbers and theft. When buying your Yamaha FS1E from the dealership, the bikes had a fixed price, and strangely enough, certain safety features were left out. 4 parts that were fitted only as an optional extra were the indicators. So if you wanted the indicators, they would only come as an additional cost. In January 1976, Yamaha released its DX model. The bike came with the new Kenny Roberts speed block design and featured new coiled rear shocks, a disc front brake, top ignition and a bigger front wheel. The model was highly successful and the model sold in the thousands. But what a lot of people don't know is, this wasn't the first disc brake model in the FS1E series. The first disc brake model came out in 1975, the very first 596 model starting at 101. It followed on from the last of the drum brake models, the Baja Brown pinstripe, and kept all the early features including the fuel tank, rear shocks, etc. All the Yamaha FS1E bikes from 1972 through to 1977 were fitted with the Araya wheel rims. The logo was stamped into the rim next to the valve. The early drum brake models had the logo and size all on one line. But later, Araya changed the logo design and split the logo and size into 2 lines. This carried through to the end of the unrestricted bikes in July 1977, when the design was changed again to the logo stamped on the outside of the rim. The Yamaha FS1E bikes from 1972 right through to 1977 all had the same one-piece exhaust. No design changes were ever made to the exhaust on these unrestricted models. And there's one clear way to distinguish an original exhaust to an aftermarket example, and that's the seam of the exhaust that will always sit at 12 o'clock when fitted to the bike. Any aftermarket examples have the seam sitting at around 2 o'clock. So very easy to distinguish between the two. The Yamaha FS1E from 1972 through to 1977 kept its Yamaha logo to exactly the same design. The logo was displayed on the rear of the original seats and also the early 394 model tank badges. The lettering on the logo is a good way to authenticate an original seat. The Y is wider on the left and the A is wider on the right than the left. The 1972 bikes through to the 77 bikes shared exactly the same fork gator design, although the was a different in size and part number from the 394 drum brake models and the 596 disc brake models. The overall design was the same. All original gators had the 9 ribs and the distinctive 2 holes at the bottom of the gator. The earlier 1975 disc brake models had a different helmet lock to the later Kenny Roberts 1976 disc brake model. The early model had an arrow pointing to the direction you needed to turn to open the catch, whereas the later 76 DX bike had no arrow and a smooth stainless polished face.